There's a thick liquid you can buy at any auto parts store for less than $2 per application. You pour it into your engine through the oil filler cap, you start the car, and within 60 seconds, the knocking stops, the ticking stops. The rhythmic death rattle that your mechanic pointed to while writing a $4,000 estimate goes silent. The engine does not just sound better, it runs smoother. Oil pressure stabilizes. The lifter clatter that wakes your neighbors every morning at 6 a.m. disappears as if it was never there. $2, 60 seconds, and the engine your mechanic pronounced dead just bought itself another 50,000 miles. This is not an internet rumor. Hyper-viscous oil stabilizers have been used since the 1930s. Long-haul truckers have added them at every oil change for decades. The United States military used viscosity modifiers during World War II to keep vehicle engines running in combat zones where replacement parts did not exist. Farmers across the American heartland in the 1940s and 1950s poured heavy oil supplements into tractor engines to push them through one more season. The chemistry is real, the physics are documented, and the $400 billion automotive repair industry would very much prefer you never learn any of this. Then, someone in a corporate boardroom did the math. The automotive repair industry in the United States alone generates over $400 billion annually. Engine diagnostics, rebuilds, and replacements account for tens of billions of that total. A $2 liquid that silences a condemned engine and extends its service life by years is not a product. It is an industry-level revenue threat. And threats to revenue do not get shelf space, they get silence. Welcome to Forbidden Fix. If these stories matter to you, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we dig up what industries spent decades trying to erase. To understand why this liquid works, you need to understand exactly why engines make noise in the first place. Inside your engine, dozens of precision-machined metal components move against each other thousands of times per minute. Camshaft lobes press against hydraulic lifters. Pistons reciprocate inside cylinder bores. Connecting rod bearings spin around crankshaft journals at tremendous speed. The only barrier preventing direct metal-to-metal contact between all of these surfaces is a microscopically thin film of oil. This film is measured in microns, thousandths of a millimeter. When your engine was new, the machining tolerances between these components were extremely tight. The oil film filled every gap perfectly. The engine ran in near silence because metal never actually touched metal. The oil carried the entire load. But engines wear. It is inevitable. After 100,000 miles, bearing surfaces erode from friction and heat cycling. Lifter bores become slightly oval. Piston ring end gaps widen. The clearances that were once measured in tenths of thousandths of an inch grow larger. Standard motor oil, typically formulated at 5W30 or 10W30, has a specific viscosity engineered for factory new tolerances. When the physical gaps between components exceed what that viscosity can bridge, the oil film breaks down intermittently. Metal contacts metal. The contact is brief, microseconds at a time, but it produces an audible sound. A tick, a knock, a rattle. Your mechanic hears that sound and translates it into a repair order. Lifter replacement. $800 to $2,000. Bottom end rebuild. $3,000 to $6,000. Complete engine replacement. $5,000 to $12,000. Hyper-viscous oil stabilizers address the problem through fluid dynamics, not mechanical repair. These products are extremely thick lubricants, typically in the range of SAE 70 to SAE 90 equivalent viscosity at operating temperature. When added to your existing motor oil at approximately 20% of total crankcase volume, they increase the overall viscosity of the oil charge. The thicker blended oil fills the enlarged clearances that standard weight oil can no longer bridge. The hydrodynamic film is restored. Metal stops contacting metal. The noise stops. Not because the wear was reversed, not because parts were replaced, because the fluid barrier was re-established through viscosity modification. The physics are identical to the original factory condition, only the oil is thicker to compensate for the wider gaps. The most widely recognized product in this category is Lucas Heavy-Duty Oil Stabilizer, though the underlying principle applies to any high molecular weight petroleum or synthetic lubricant rated for crankcase use. These stabilizers are formulated from heavy base oil stocks combined with polymer additives that resist viscosity breakdown under shearing forces and extreme heat. When blended at the correct ratio, they can increase effective oil film thickness by 40 to 60%. That is the difference between an engine that knocks and an engine that runs quiet for another year, or 2, or 5. Before I go further, this video covers the emergency application. Inside the Forbidden Fix vault, I have compiled comprehensive guides on oil viscosity science, engine wear diagnostics, specific product comparisons, blending ratios for every common engine type, and the long-term maintenance strategies that professional fleet mechanics use to push commercial engines past 500,000 miles. The link is in the description. But stay right here because the financial incentive behind the silence is what you need to understand. The United States military has a deep and documented history with viscosity modification. During World War II, field maintenance crews operating in North Africa, the Pacific, and the European theater faced a constant logistics problem. Engines wore out. Replacement engines were scarce. Skilled mechanics were scattered across continents, and the pragmatic solution was field-expedient lubrication. Maintenance units added thicker base stocks and viscosity-boosting compounds to engine oil to compensate for wear and extend operational life until proper repairs could be arranged. After the war, this practice migrated directly into civilian trucking and heavy equipment. Long-haul operators discovered that adding 1 quart of heavy stabilizer at every oil change significantly reduced valve train noise and extended the interval between major engine overhauls. Caterpillar and Cummins dealer mechanics have quietly recommended high viscosity supplementation for high mileage diesel engines for decades. Municipal fleet managers running bus and sanitation vehicle fleets have documented measurably reduced engine replacement rates after implementing stabilizer protocols. This is not a fringe practice. It is standard operating procedure in commercial applications. It is only invisible in the consumer world. Why would a service advisor at your dealership tell you about a $2 bottle when your engine noise is worth $4,000 in billable labor and marked up parts? The modern automotive repair business model is built on component replacement, not preservation. The diagnostic workflow is designed to identify a symptom, correlate it to a part, and generate a quote. Lifter tick, replace the lifters and the camshaft. Rod knock, rebuild the entire bottom end. Bearing noise, new long block. At no step in this workflow does a technician suggest adding an inexpensive viscosity modifier to determine whether the noise resolves. Not because it would be ineffective, because it would be unprofitable. The quick lube industry compounds this further. Oil change franchises generate over $8 billion annually in the United States alone. Their entire revenue model depends on consumers believing that only factory-specified oil at factory-specified viscosity, at factory-specified intervals, is safe for their engine. Any deviation is framed as mechanical negligence. But factory specifications are calibrated for new engines with factory clearances. Your 150,000-mile engine does not have factory clearances. It has worn clearances, and worn clearances need thicker oil. The one recommendation the quick lube counter will never make, because it would mean fewer return visits, fewer synthetic oil upsells, and fewer revenue-generating service intervals. If you have made it this far, you now understand more about engine lubrication and hydrodynamic film theory than 90% of car owners sitting in a dealership waiting room being told their engine is terminal. Subscribe and share. One share might save someone $4,000 in 3 years of car payments on a replacement they did not need. Here is exactly how to use it. Step 1. Purchase 1 quart of a high viscosity oil stabilizer. Lucas Heavy Duty. Oil stabilizer is the most widely available, but any crankcase safe product with an SAE 70 or higher equivalent viscosity will work. Cost is approximately $6 to $12 per quart. Step 2. At your next oil change or between changes, remove approximately 1 quart of your existing motor oil to maintain proper crankcase volume. Step 3. Replace the removed quart with the stabilizer. This brings overall viscosity up by approximately 20% while keeping total volume correct. Step 4. Start the engine and let it idle. Within 30 to 60 seconds, lifter tick and mild bearing noise should diminish noticeably or disappear completely. Step 5. Drive normally and monitor. If your vehicle has an oil pressure gauge, you should observe a modest increase of 3 to 5 psi, confirming that the thicker oil film is properly seating in the clearances. Repeat the substitution at every subsequent oil change. Cost per application, $6 to $12. Compare that to the $4,000 engine rebuild quote folded up in your glove compartment. I need to be honest with you. This is not a repair. It is symptom management through fluid dynamics. If your engine has a spun main bearing, a cracked piston, or catastrophic rotating assembly failure, no oil additive on earth will fix it. Heavy rod knock that sounds like a ball-peen hammer striking an anvil from inside the block indicates mechanical destruction that requires physical disassembly. A viscosity modifier cannot bridge a gap that has exceeded the physical limits of hydrodynamic film theory. Additionally, modern engines designed for ultra-low viscosity oils like 0W16 or 0W20 have extremely small oil passages and tight tolerance variable valve timing systems. Adding a heavy stabilizer to these engines can restrict oil flow to critical components and potentially cause more damage than it prevents. Always stay within 20 to 25% of total oil volume. And this is an interim strategy for aging, high-mileage engines, not a permanent substitute for proper maintenance or necessary mechanical repair. If your engine consumes more than 1 quart of oil per 1,000 miles, there are underlying issues that warrant professional diagnosis. Your grandfather knew this. Every farmer, every trucker, every backyard mechanic in the 1950s knew that when an old engine started ticking, you thickened the oil and kept driving. You did not finance a new engine because a bearing was showing its age. You managed the wear with the tools and the knowledge available. Then the automotive industry consolidated. Independent garages were replaced by dealer networks. Service departments became profit centers. And the idea that an old engine could be kept alive with a $2 bottle of thick oil became something mechanics dismissed in public and quietly relied on in private. There was not a better solution. There was just a more expensive one. Subscribe and share. Every share preserves what they tried to erase. The next vault opens soon. And what is inside might explain why your headlights have been getting dimmer every year while the dealership quotes $300 for a fix that costs $1